Hello, squirrels. Here we go, back to that dead finger. Let's see what happens. Hope I don't go to sleep. Got up really early, have not taken a nap. I'm not sure exactly where I left off because I was half asleep. But so I might be rereading something, but I lay in bed burning, racked with pain in my head and with my eyeballs on fire. I think that may be where I stopped, but I'm not sure. Whether I fell asleep or went off in my head for a while, I cannot tell. I may have fainted. I have no recollection of anything. I think I did read this, but it's okay. Of anything after having gone to bed and taken a sip of lime juice, I remember that tasted to me like soap, till I was roused by a sense of pain in my ribs, a slow, gnawing, torturing pain. Waxing momentarily more intense in half consciousness, I was partly dreaming and partly aware of actual suffering. The pain was real, but in my fancy I thought that a great maggot was working its way into my side between my ribs. I seemed to see it. It twisted itself half round, then reverted to its former position, and again twisted itself, moving like a bradawl, not like a gimlet, which latter forms a complete revolution. That's where I stopped. This obviously must have been a dream, hallucination only, as I was lying on my back and my eyes were directed towards the bottom of the bed and the coverlet, and blankets and sheet intervened between my eyes and my side, but in fever one sees without eyes, and in every direction and through all obstructions. Roused thoroughly by an excruciating twinge, I tried to cry out and succeeded in throwing myself over on my right side, that which was in pain. At once I felt the thing withdraw that was awling, A-W-L-I-N-G, like screw it into him, I guess, if I may use the words, in between my ribs. And now I saw, standing beside the bed, a figure that had its arm under the bedclothes and was slowly removing it. The hand was leisurely drawn from under the coverings and rested on the eider-down coverlet with the forefinger extended. The figure was that of a man in shabby clothes, with a sallow, mean face, a retreating forehead, and hair cut after the French fashion, and a moustache, dark. The jaws and chin were covered with a bristly growth, as if shaving had been neglected for a fortnight, 2 weeks. The figure did not appear to be thoroughly solid, but to be of a consistency of curd, and the face was of the complexion of curd. As I looked at this object, it withdrew, sliding backward in an odd sort of manner, and as though overweighed by the hand, which was the most substantial, indeed the only substantial portion of it. Though the figure retreated, stooping, yet it was no longer huddled along by the finger, as it had no material existence. If this same, it had acquired a consistency and a solidity which it did not possess before. How it vanished, I do not know, nor whither it went. The door opened, and I think I've been calling this guy Squire, but it's Square. I think it's got 2 different names. It might be this version I'm reading. Square came in. "What?" he exclaimed with a cheery voice. "Influenza, is it?" "I don't know. I think it's that finger again." Remember, he had told the guy about it, and he was kind of into the spirit stuff. He had to mull it over, think about it. Oh, mercy me. Chapter 4. "Now look here," said Square. "I'm not going to have that cuss at its pranks anymore. Tell me all about it." I was now so exhausted, so feeble, that I was not able to give a connected account of what had taken place, but Square put to me just a few pointed questions and elicited the main facts. He pieced them together in his own orderly mind so as to form a connected whole. There is a feature in this case, said he, that strikes me as remarkable and important. At first, a finger only, then a hand, then a nebulous figure attached to the hand without backbone, without consistency. Lastly, a complete form with consistency and with a backbone, but the latter in a gelatinous condition, and the entire finger overweighed by the hand, just as hand and figure were previously overweighed by the finger. Simultaneously with the compacting and consolidating of the figure came your degeneration and loss of vital force, and in a word, of health. What you lose, that object acquires, and what it acquires, it gains by contact with you. That's clear enough, is it not? I dare say I don't know. I can't think. I suppose not. The faculty of thought is drained out of you. Very well, I must think for you, and I will. Force is force, and I see I can't deal with your visitant in such a way as will prove just as truly a moral dissuasive as that employed on the Union men on strike in. Never mind where it was, that's not to the point. Will you kindly give me some lime juice? I entreated. I sipped the acid draught, but without relief. I listened to Square, but without hope. I wanted to be left alone. I was weary of my pain, weary of everything, even of life. It was a matter of indifference to me whether I recovered or slipped out of existence. It will be here again shortly, said the engineer. As the French say, I'm going to have to look this up. I hope it's got a little thing that'll pronounce it for me. Of course not. What it means is appetite comes with eating. The more you have, the more you want. I love it when they have the little thing that, says it for you. But it's in French. It has been at you thrice. It won't be content without another peck. And if it does get another, I guess it will pretty well about finish you. Mr. Square rubbed his chin and then put his hands into his trouser pockets. That also was a trick acquired in the States, an inelegant one. His hands, when not actively occupied, went into his pockets. Inevitably, they gravitated thither. Ladies did not like Square. They said he was not a gentleman, but it was not that he said or did anything off color, only he spoke to them, looked at them, walked with them, always with his hands in his pockets. I have seen a lady turn her back on him deliberately because of this trick. Standing now with his hands in his pockets, he studied my bed and said contemptuously, "Old-fashioned and bad four-poster. Oughtn't to be allowed, I guess, and unwholesome all the way round." I was not in a condition to dispute this. I like a four-poster with curtains at head and feet. Not that I ever draw them, but it gives a sense of privacy that is wanting in one of your half-tester beds. If there's a window at one's feet, one can lie in bed without the glare in one's eyes, and yet without darkening the room by drawing the blinds. There's much to be said for a four-poster, but this is not the place in which to say it. Mr. Square pulled his hands out of his pocket and began fiddling with the electric point near the head of my bed, attached a wire, swept it in a semicircle along the floor, and then thrust the knob at the end into my hand in the bed. "Keep your eye open," said he, "and your hand shut and covered. If that finger comes again tickling your ribs, try it with the point. I'll manage the switch from behind the curtain." It was shocking. Then he disappeared. I was too indifferent in my misery to turn my head and observe where he was. I remained inert with the knob in my hand and my eyes closed, suffering and thinking of nothing but the shooting pains through my head and the aches in my loins and back and legs. Some time probably elapsed before I felt the finger again at work at my ribs. It groped, but no longer bored. I felt the entire hand, not a single finger in the hand was substantial, cold, and clammy. I was aware how, I know not, that if the finger point reached the region of my heart on the left side, the hand would, so to speak, sit down on it with the cold palm over it, and that then immediately my heart would cease to beat. And it would be, as Squire might express it, gone coon, COON, with me. In self-preservation, I brought up the knob of the electric wire against the hand, against one of the ringers, I think, and at once was aware of a rapping, squealing noise. I turned my head languidly and saw the form, now more substantial than before, capering in an ecstasy of pain, endeavoring fruitlessly to withdraw its arm from under the bedclothes and the hand from the electric point. At the same time, Square stepped from behind the curtain with a dry laugh and said, "I thought we should fix him. He has the coil about him and can't escape. Now let us drop to particulars, but I shan't let you off till I know all about you." The last sentence was addressed not to me, but to the apparition. Thereupon he bade me take the point away from the hand of the figure, being whatever it was, but to be ready with it at a moment's notice, then proceeded to catechize my visitor, who moved restlessly within the circle of wire but could not escape from it. It replied in a thin, squealing voice that sounded as if it came from a distance and had a querulous tone in it. I do not pretend to give all that was said. I cannot recollect everything that passed. My memory was affected by my illness as well as my body. Yet I prefer giving the scraps that I recollect to what Square told me he had heard. Yes, I was unsuccessful, always was. Nothing answered with me. The world was against me. Society was. I hate society. I don't like work neither. Never did. But I like agitating against what is established. I hate the royal family, the landed interest, the parsons, everything that is except the people, that is, the unemployed. I always did. I couldn't get work as suited me. When I died, they buried me in a cheap coffin, dirt cheap, and gave me a nasty grave, cheap, and a service rattled away cheap, and no monument. Don't want none. Oh, there are lots of us, all discontented. Discontent. That's a passion, it is. It gets into your veins, it fills the brain, it occupies the heart. It's sort of a divine cancer that takes possession of the entire man and makes him dissatisfied with everything and hate everybody. But we must have our share of happiness at some time. We all crave for it in one way or another. Some think there's a future state of blessedness, and so have hope, and look to attain to it. For hope is a cable and anchor that attaches to what is real. But when you have no hope of that sort, don't believe in any future state, you must look for happiness in life here. We didn't get it when we were alive, so we seek to procure it after we are dead. We can do it if we can get out of our cheap and nasty coffins, but not until the greater part of us is mouldered away. If a finger or two remains, that can work its way up to the surface. Those cheap deal coffins go to pieces quick enough. Then the only solid part of us left can pull the rest of us that has gone to nothing after it. Then we grope about after the living, the well-to-do if we can get at them, the honest working poor if we can't. We hate them too because they are content and happy. If we reach any of these and can touch them, then we draw their vital force out of them into ourselves and recuperate at their expense. That was what I was going to do with you. getting on famous, nearly solidified into a new man and given another chance in life, but I've missed it this time. Just my luck. Miss in everything. Always have, except misery and disappointment. Get plenty of that. What are you all about? Asked Square, anarchist out of employ. Some of us go by that name, some by other designations, but we are all one and own allegiance to but one monarch, sovereign discontent. We are bred to have distaste for manual work, and we grow up loafers, grumbling at everything and quarreling with society that is around us and the providence that is above us. And what do you call yourselves now? Call ourselves? Nothing. We are the same in another condition, that's all. Folks called us once anarchists, nihilist, messed that up, I'm sure, socialist, levelers. Now they call us the influenza. The learned talk of microbes and bacilli and bacteria. Microbes, bacilli, and bacteria be blowed. We are the influenza. We, the social failures, the generally discontented, coming up out of our cheap and nasty graves in the form of physical disease. We are the influenza. Well, there you are, I guess, explained Square triumphantly. Did I not say that all forces were correlated? If so, then all negations, deficiencies of force are one in several manifestations. Talk of divine discontent as a force impelling progress. Rubbish. It's a paralysis of energy. It turns all it absorbs to acid, to envy, spite, gall. It inspires nothing but rots the whole moral system. Here you have it. Moral, social, political discontent in another form, nay, aspect. That is all. What anarchism in the body politic, that influenza is in the body physical. Do you see that? Yes. I believe I answered and dropped away into the land of dreams. I recovered. What Square did with the thing I did not know, but believed that he reduced it again to its former negative and self-decomposing condition. That's all. And that was the rest of chapter 3 and 4. Most of the rest of them didn't have chapters. So anyway, that's it. I'm not live today. It's my day off. Tuesdays and Thursdays are the only days I don't come on live. But I'll see you around in somebody's chat, I'm sure. And if not, see you tomorrow live at 5 again. All right, love you bunches. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. Bye-bye.